This is another in our series of green homes as part of Go Green Week. We're here in Jansen's Road to visit a householder who has done a lot to improve the energy efficiency of her house. Welcome, Judith. So my first question to you is, what have you done to improve the insulation of your house?
I think the main thing for the insulation has been the west-facing wall, the front wall. When we moved in, you could feel the cold in winter coming that far inside the front wall. And then in summer, 3 days above 23 degrees, and you could feel the heat on the inside of the brick wall. So the insulation that we put in, it was a thing called Sempertap. I've got a little sample that I'll pick up and you can film. That was just that thick, and it cut the transmission of the heat. So now you don't feel the cold come in winter. You don't feel the wall heat up in summer. So you have a bedroom that is almost cool enough to sleep in, apart from the soupy London air. But that west-facing wall, that was the big heat loss and heat gain. Yeah. And we've also had to line the front windows with blackout or thermal dead loss lining. And again, that helps to stop the heat coming in on the summer. It stops the heat escaping in winter. You're not so conscious of it in winter, but that summer heat, you can feel when you are gaining and losing heat. Yeah. So that was, so that's the insulation. Of course, we've also thickened up the loft lining. The other thing that we've done that's a big one on a sort of it's passive solar heat and gain, has been the conservatory. So putting a conservatory on the back, which faces the east, that means that morning sun gets trapped in the conservatory. Wonderful every part of the year except for heat wave. And that warmth that gets trapped in the conservatory, that feeds through the whole house. And it also, as well as passive solar being about the temperature, it's also about the lighting. So that is my light box room. It keeps me sane during the cold, dark winter. And we've got one other passive solar lighting feature, which again you probably want to picture, but that is a solar tube, a light tube that comes down through the attic at the top of the stairs, and that can be so bright that sometimes I walk out and say, where does floodlighting come from? Who left the lights on here? It's just incredibly bright. And it used to be that the stairs were a really dark, dead zone in the heart of the house, and now they're light bright, and it means, of course, we don't have to run the electric light there anymore.
Fantastic. So you've already done quite a lot of insulation to the house, and then you decided to have solar panels. What made you think about installing those?
Well, in both cases, it was that we spotted some schemes that the Mayor of London was running. The first one was Ken Livingstone set up a green concierge scheme, which was effectively you got a project manager. So we were both working full-time at the time, and it meant that instead of having to sort of phone around and get quotes and research everything, somebody did it for you and presented you with a neat little set of choices. That made it so much easier. It would be good to have that thing going again. And then the solar panels, that was a scheme that Sadiq promoted with certain boroughs signed up. It didn't seem to be open very long because we spotted it with about a fortnight to go to sign up. And that was to bulk buy solar panels. So that meant that the 4 panels that we now have on the roof, they cost just $2,500, under $2,500 to get up, all in. And
was it disruptive having the work done?
Not really, no. There's scaffolding up front of the house. There's a neat little box up in the attic that is the inverter. And that's about it. We've got an app that I can look at on the phone that tells us what the panels are up to. It took them just over a year to reach 1 megahertz. No, megawatt hour, 1 megawatt hour. And I thought, my God, a whole megawatt. It sounded so much. And that was also roughly planting 50 trees, apparently.
And have you noticed a decrease in your electricity bills?
Yeah, it's basically looked at the comparative bill for the first year, and it was a quarter of what it used to be. So that's a quarter of our energy is night times and those winter days where the panels are generating hardly anything.
And has this inspired you to take even more measures?
I think we'd done a lot. In many ways, the solar panels were the last thing. But I think the other big thing that we've been doing is a little bit of the water energy. I come from Australia, which is a very thirsty country. So I'm really quite conscious of the fact that London and South East actually don't get much more rainfall than parts of Australia. So we've got water butts front and back, and that we catch the water. It means that I can grow orchids and quite a lot of plants that really like rainwater. And we've also got a bathwater diverter that in hot, dry weather, or in fact we probably ought to start doing it now, we can divert the water from the bath and the shower and the wash basin, and it comes out into a leaky hose layout all round the edge of the garden and in the middle of the garden, and that waters the garden for us when it needs it most. And it also means that in that hot weather you don't feel terribly guilty about taking a reasonably long shower to cool down, because it's all going to the garden.
That's really fantastic. So this really is a green home. Thank you very much.
A couple of other things. Oh, yes. So the kitchen water, that comes out to the garden too. Wash basin in the sink, tip it into a bucket, and then come out and see what bits of garden need a little bit of a top-up. We've got quite a lot of pots, for instance. And so that's one of them. I suppose the thing is also that they're saving the money, but really a lot of what makes the difference and what's most satisfactory is the ways that it increases comfort, the light, the fact that you're not too hot, not too cold. It's well worth it. The conservatory cost a lot more than the solar panels. But yeah, it is well worth it. That's guilt-free, doing our bit for save the planet instead of buggering it up.
Saving carbon emissions. Thank you very much, Judith. Thank you.
So up there, that little green thing, that's the water diverter valve. You twist the round thing and it will send the water down that thin little pipe into a leaky hose that runs all the way around the edge of the garden. Twist it back and the water from the bathroom goes down into the drains as normal. So here's our back water butts, the two linked together, so it gives us 200 litres capacity. And the water just comes off this little glass porch roof, which is another of the passive solar features. It actually keeps the wind right away from the back door and from the dining room window, as well as keeping the rain and the mud from the back door. And so it's quite convenient having the water butts here, as you'll see. Okay, so the water comes from the bathroom diverter into a leaky pipe, a leaky hose that runs all the way around the edge of the garden here, and then back through into this bed, and that gives the garden its basic watering all through the summer. So the internal insulation that we had put in, this is Sempertap. It's a rubberized material, just this thick, so you don't lose a lot of space from the wall. It was invented in Germany as noise insulation, and then they realised that what acts as noise insulation also cuts the heat transmission. And So you can apply it DIY. We paid for the builders to put it up because we worked out long ago that the bother of DIY is it's worth paying someone else to do all the hard work. Yeah, so one of the fun things about the solar panels is these handy little apps or computer devices that let you keep track of how much your panels are generating. And you can see how they respond to the weather. You can almost see individual clouds go over. Sunny days, you get more. During the winter, it really does drop off as you've got low indirect sunlight. And what we're seeing on the screen is basically the pattern over the past months. So you can see which days have been the sunny days and which days have been the grey and cloudy days with less electricity generated. And it also tells us total how much we've generated, which is well over 1 megawatt now. It tells us how many trees we've planted. It's about 70 something or other. I can't see the screen from where I'm sitting. And we got in just before the end of the feed-in tariff, so it does tell us that we've been getting a little bit of money paid back to us, on top of the free energy, of course, that saves the bills.